Welcome to Liberty Park Music. I'm Michelle Huang, your piano instructor. In our lesson today, we'll first look at a piece called Tocatina that will review both the major and minor chords that we have learned. We will also learn how to harmonize melodies using the tonic and dominant chords in the minor keys, and how they're different from harmonizing melodies in the major keys. Let's first take a look at the piece Tocatina. Just like the previous piece we have looked at, make a few observations of the key signature, time signature, and repetition of patterns. You will notice that the time signature is different from what we have seen before. This time signature is called cut time, or sometimes referred to as alla breve. You can remember it as the common time, which is 4/4, cut in half, which is now 2/2. So one half note gets one beat. It might be a good idea to count 1 and 2 and to account for all the notes on the score, at least when you first learn the piece. A composer would often choose to write in cut time if the piece is to be played fast, such as this one. This makes sense since counting 2 beats a measure, 1, 2, 1, 2, will allow the music to move forward more than counting 4 beats a measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which the flow of the music can be bogged down by excessive counting. However, since we're just learning the piece, let's start slow and count 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. A quick review to determine the key of the piece. There's 1 flat in the key signature, which indicates that we might be in F major. However, the first and last note of the piece suggests that we are in D minor, which is 3 half steps down from F major, the relative minor key of F major. Remember that a major key and its relative minor key share the same key signature. Looking at the pattern, it's a very chordal piece, meaning that the entire piece is consisted mainly of chords, especially on the right hand. This is no doubt an exercise of the major and minor chords that we have learned. It would be helpful to know what chords we'll be playing for this piece. Let's take a look at this line by line. Measures 1 and 2 of the first line are exactly the same. All the notes indicate that we're in D minor, with the first note D in the left hand, and D and F in the right hand. The A in the left hand completes the D minor chord. Then we simply oscillate back and forth between the 2 hands. In measures 3 and 4, right hand simply goes up by whole steps, then back down to D and F. Keep in mind that all these notes are staccatos, with the exception of the downbeat of measure 4, so be sure to bounce lightly from the wrist. The second line is in C major. Following the same pattern as the first line. Line 3 is the exact repeat as line 1, which is just moving up a whole step from line 2. Line 4 begins with the second inversion of D minor. The root position of D minor looks like this. First inversion. And second inversion. With A on the bottom. Then onto A major root position in measure 3 and 4. Watch out for the change of the right hand position. Raise the wrist a little bit to play 2 and 4 here. Line 5 repeats the same chord pattern. A second inversion for one measure. A major root position. And single Ds. For the remainder of the piece, see if you can figure out the chords for each line first before you proceed to play. Notice that lines 6 and 8 are the same. Lines 6 and 7 are only a whole step apart. Here's what lines 6 through 9 sound like. At the end of Tocatina, you will notice a sign DC L fine. We have seen this before. DC L fine stands for da capo al fine, which means from the head to finish. When we get to the end of measure 36, we will go back to the beginning, play the first 5 lines again, and end in measure 20, which fine is marked. Here is what Tocatina sounds like from the beginning to the end. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Continue to practice this piece for your homework. You will be able to speed it up a little bit as you get comfortable with the piece. Next, we'll learn how to harmonize melodies in the minor keys and how it's different from harmonizing melodies in the major keys. A quick review of what tonic and dominant chords are. Tonic and dominant chords are triads that are built from the first and fifth note of a five-finger pattern. In the minor keys, the tonic chord is designated as lowercase 1 or I, which means that the tonic chord is a minor chord built on the first note. In this case, it would be a C minor chord. To review, to form a minor chord, we simply lower the third note of a five-finger pattern by a half step. The dominant is still a major 5 chord built on the fifth note of the five-finger pattern, which is the same as the major keys. The 5 chord in C minor, it's G major. Let's take a look at this short piece. We're asked to harmonize the melody by playing a tonic or dominant chord on the first beat of each measure. The harmonies of the first 2 measures are provided. A general rule of thumb to determine which harmony to use is to look at the right-hand melody. Use tonic when most of the melody notes are 1, 3, and 5. Use dominant when most of the melody notes are 2, 4, and 5. It's almost always true that a tonic will begin and end each piece, and the dominant almost always precedes tonic at the end of the piece. So that takes care of the last 2 measures, 5 to 1. Spend a few minutes and see if you can figure out the rest of the harmonization on your own. Check your work here. In measure 3, the reason the tonic chord will sound better is because even though half the melody notes are 2, 4, 5, the 2 and 4 are on the weak beats. And since 1 and 3 are on the strong beats, they have more of a presence in the measure than the weak beats. Therefore, a tonic chord will work better here. Another reason is if we put a dominant chord with the G on the right hand. The F sharp in the dominant chord would clash with the G and it would not sound as good as a tonic chord. The same principle applies to measure 6. Now, let's work on moving back and forth between 1 and 5 on the left hand. One of the difficult things about playing a melody on the right hand and chords on the left hand is that the left hand has to know exactly where the next chord is without too much thinking. This requires that you develop muscle memory of the distance between the 2 chords. One good way of knowing the distance is to be able to play just the root of the chords and be able to go back and forth using the fingerings as if you're playing the whole chord. Once you can do that comfortably, add the thirds to the chord. Then the whole chords. You can also try this with your eyes closed to enhance your muscle memory. When playing the whole chord, remember to sink into the keys with the whole hand and putting a focus behind your third finger to ensure that we hear all 3 notes in the chord. Spend a few minutes to tap and count the rhythms of the right hand melody. When you're finished, play and count the melody. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Let's review the left hand chords again. Now we'll put hands together. On the score, the check marks indicate that is when your left hand will lift to move to the next chord. Instead of holding each chord to its full value, the left hand will lift on the end of the fourth beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The idea here is so that the right hand will not have to wait for the left hand to move positions and the music will flow smoothly. Remember to keep your right hand melody connected even when your left hand lifts. Let's play two hands together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. In our lesson today, we looked at a piece called Tocatina that reviews both the major and minor chords that we have learned before. We also learned how to harmonize melodies using the tonic and dominant chords in the minor keys and how they're different from harmonizing in the major keys. In your homework, you'll find a few more harmonization exercises as well as repertoire that will help you review the concepts we have learned today. See you next time.